Hi guys, and welcome to, we've not done this in a long time, free reads. Nancy's on already, and we have the amazing, obviously my partner Jane, and Tina and Erika on with us. Great friends and amazing Lenormand readers. And we was just saying before we actually came on live that we haven't spoken to each other face to face in so long, maybe on chat and PM. But we haven't had a chance to speak to one another. So it's really nice that we've got the chance. If you want to read, and I'll say it outright before we get going, please post your name and the question in one post. If you do that, we can read for you immediately. But I also want to say a bit about our amazing people that we have here today. I met both, I was lucky enough to meet Tina and Erika at Reader's Studio a few years ago now. So I'm really fortunate that they're still in my life, and that we may have followed different cartomancy paths, but that we very much love being together, which is the most important thing with divination. I wanted to ask Erika because I've heard and seen posts about the exciting upcoming new book. So I wondered if you'd tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so I have a book coming out with Red Wheel Weiser Publishers, coming out, I think, October 2nd, and it's called The Language of the Lenormand. And it, the theory is that Lenormand is a language just like French is a language, Spanish is a language, German is a language, and that if we can sort of clear our table, clear our minds of our preconceptions about how language works, and work through how to learn the language of Lenormand the way that we learned how to read when we were small. You know, first you learn the letters, right? Then you string the letters together to make words, right? Then you string the words together to make sentences, but then you're not really quite the reader yet. Then you have to sort of take a leap that makes the story come alive, that makes the story go from 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional to maybe, I don't know, 5-dimensional. And so that's what I try to do with Lenormand. I mix traditional methods with the things that Lenormand has taught me on my own, and I've sort of put them together. I've been a teacher for many, many, many years of English. So I know how to teach language. And I've come up with a system that I hope people will find very useful, very friendly. It's a very American way, I think, to read.
You also have taught Lenormand
yes,
for a while now.
I have taught Lenormand both in person. I do it virtually as well. In fact, I just started my intermediate level class. So we're going to be diving into the GT. We have worked with the 9-box, but we're going to be diving into the GT, which I have my own way of doing. I think I've actually taught that for you at the WDA. Yeah, before. So so I'm very, very excited. I also have a deck coming out around the same time. So the pictures that you see on the cover of the book are not the deck. They are the publisher's version of cards, but I will be having a deck come out at the same time. So
I can't wait for that. I really can't wait for that.
Thank you.
Tina, you've got projects in the pipeline. Obviously, we have Siren's Song. But what's your biggest upcoming?
So first of all, I just want to say that I am really honored to be sitting here. I feel like I'm in the company of royalty, and Erika and all of you. And Erika has gone to Harvard, and I just think that we're going to be so lucky. I can't wait for this book to come out. It's going to be, I think it's going to be one of our definitive tomes on our bookshelf where Lenormand is concerned, because, I think, Toni, the way that you have brought the sort of the traditional method of reading And this is just going to be a whole other, just a much deeper dive into it. And I'm really looking forward to it. So
thank you so much.
Yes, Carrie, Paris and I, and also Toni, we've got the Kipper and the Siren Song Lenormand coming up in August. But that is their project. I just got to dip my toe in the waters a little bit. And then Carrie and I have got a super project coming up. I think it's going to be released by Wiser Red Wheel in September, and it is called The Beloved Dead. And now this sort of approaches some of the stuff that I have a lot of real connection to, is helping people explore some childhood wounding, but it's also a tool that is going to have multiple gears and can be used for paranormal investigations. And definitely deep dives into some of the ancestral imprints and patterns. So I'm really looking forward to that rolling out.
It sounds incredible. And obviously if Carrie's had a hand in the artwork in any way, then. But there is one thing I'll say, Tina, and that's you didn't play a small part in the Siren Song. You played a very major part. So we won't even go there. And Jane actually has news as well. Her Sigils book is ready for release with Red Feather Publishing.
Published
Wow.
of May in America, and then worldwide on the 28th of July. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
And that's a sigils, a tool for manifestation and empowerment.
Awesome.
And cards, sigil cards to play with.
It's a really good mediumship tool.
So everybody who's watching, you are in very, very, very good hands on this. If you don't know what a Lenormand read is, it does tend to be very practical and very hard hitting in the places where it needs to hit. What more can you say? It will, if you ask a direct question, you will get a direct answer. So I'm going to start looking at your questions and wade all the way up to the top. And what I'll do is I will give them out to us so we all know who we're doing beforehand. Okay, so if we can start, does anyone mind going first before I say it?
I don't mind.
Erika doesn't mind going first.
I never do. Okay, Erika, I have Jennifer for you, and she asks, will my move to a new apartment go smoothly?
All right. So I'm going to teach Jennifer a little something, which is that you certainly can ask yes or no questions of Lenormand, but I think that a better way to get a deeper answer is to ask the question, how will my move go? Now, I'm known in the Lenormand world as the queen of significators. And so that means that I wouldn't just sort of pull a random card, I would look for the ship. And so I have found the ship in this deck, and I am, pulling 5 cards. So I have, and I'm using, by the way, the Carrie Paris again, and my partner, Nancy Hendrickson, have a new deck called the Ofrenda Oracle. This is the box. And there are, I think, something like 60 cards in here, but 36 of them actually are the Lenormand. So I've pulled those out. And I have the whip, the ship, because it was the second to the last card, the stars, the letter, and then the mice. So when I look at these 5 cards together, it seems as though this the lead up to this move has been intense, because that's the whip. It's an intense card. Then we've got the ship there, and then the stars is about the future. The letter and the mice are interesting to me. because they're making me feel like there's still some paperwork issues maybe that are making you a little bit anxious about this move. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a card on the mice. And it is the woman, and then the man. I'm pulling 3, and then the fish. So it feels like there's some news that's making you anxious about this that comes in the form of paper. Now, not necessarily paper, right? Paper now can be an email, a text, or something like that, that you're going to have to deal with, some issue, financial issue that you're going to have to deal with that is making you a little bit anxious. But I do think, that said, the move will go as it's meant to go. I think it'll go well. But you know, listen, I just moved from the East Coast of the US to the West Coast, having sold my house, I thought, but then the buyer stretched things out, as these things happen, right? And I thought, wait, am I gonna be paying a mortgage in New Jersey while I'm living in San Diego? Now that is not what happened, but that's the kind of little weird paperwork thing that can come up. These things always come up. They're nothing to stress about or focus on. I think that the move will go well in the end.
Perfect. Tina, so I'll give Jane and Tina both your questions now. Tina, Ashley is wondering how a career as a tarot card reader would progress, or should it just stay as a hobby? So that kind of question. Jane, Yuri, why do I keep coming back to Toronto, Canada? What's my connection with this city?
That's 2 questions. Which one?
That's right.
Okay, Tina, you up first, and then Jane afterwards, and then I'll take the next one.
Tina has such an expressive face.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm waiting for her to read, I'm like, oh, what is it going to be?
And she's also got that glint in her eye at the same time.
Everything is so small on the screen, I can't see the mischief I'm up against. All right. Just give me a second with this. Yeah, you know, from the cards that I'm pulling here, I automatically, this to me seems to be something that you should be really pursuing with great confidence, because it seems like already it's just sometimes I think there's just a little hesitancy about some of the messages that are coming through to you, but they are coming through. I think there needs to be a need just to, when things become a little bit more complicated, is for you just to break things down back into the foundations, to simplify it and go exactly to the place and to the source of where these messages are occurring to you. So if I were to say, which of your clairs to me seem to be the most strong right now, I think it sounds like claircognizance or clairaudience, where you're just sort of understanding the cards because of what you're hearing inside your head, and you need to trust that, and you need to step out of your own comfort zone, which is to be a little bit too critical of your abilities. But what I'm seeing here is that get into a practice of finding a place of deep meditation around this, and to to allow your voice and your confidence to come through. But everything that I'm seeing here, it's this beautiful magical process for you, and I would definitely pursue it.
Go for it.
That's it.
There is a time where you have to go for it, and if you were waiting for that time, then Tina's just told you that it is.
It's not like the ability isn't there. You just have to, keep carving that marble and until you release that angel, right?
Ooh, I like that. Jane?
So you asked two questions. So I asked one, the fundamental one really is to why are you so drawn to Toronto, Canada? I think the connection to it can be understood once you get the draw first off. And I would say it's because there's actually, there's a lot of things, you feel a different person there. So what I mean by that is you might find it easier to make spontaneous decisions. You might actually feel a lot safer. You feel like there's a lot more things to be doing. Decisions in themselves seem a lot easier to be. You're emotionally feeling a lot more freer. You have a real direction. It makes you feel that anything is possible when you're there, or the potential of being there makes you feel that way. And for that reason, it actually removes an element of confusion to you whilst you're there, but it brings that element of confusion once you're not.
And that's actually beautiful, because I mean, Munich had that effect on me. Dublin had that effect on me. When you walk into a city that you just instantly feel. I like that.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Toronto's a great city.
I heard it rains a lot, though.
So does the UK.
It snows a lot. Hello.
It snows a lot. All right, I took a question from Tilly, and Tilly said she feels there's a big change coming, and could we help to know what she should be on the lookout for? And there are indeed big changes coming. The big changes that are coming are as big as a life change. So Erika's made a life change recently. I've made a life change recently. Jane's made a life change recently. And these things come with a little bit of explosion in all kinds of different directions. But what you're looking at is really moving away from the things that have been so comfortable to you recently and actually breaking free. And that could be as far as a city move, or at least a definite change of circle of friends, etc., change of environment. So the change that's coming up for you is going to be a big one. I would, like I say, go as far to say as perhaps a house move, a city move, a state move. And it will include change of jobs, etc. So there is very huge excitement on the horizon. Oh, that was my cards on my keyboard. I'm sorry, Erika. I won't do that again. Okay, so I'll switch it round backwards now. We go with Jane first. You will do Christine Bangs. And is Christine on the right track with training and work? Okay, I'll give Erika the next one after that. A lady called Kat, and she has the feeling that her landlord will be terminating the tenancy. She wants to know if there is a possibility that there is a house move on the horizon.
Okay.
And Tina, your next one will be Karen. They are hiring a person at work to take over some of my duties. How will that impact me? Okay, so Jane, you're up first.
Yeah. I would say you're on the right track, but you might not be in the right position with regards to work. So that could actually be the workplace or the work organisation, for example. The actual work that you're doing, yes, but the one where you're at, you could find that there's more satisfaction elsewhere. I really think that you actually struggle with the emotional aspect with regards to where you're currently working or what it is that you're currently doing. And that in itself once you actually recognise those disturbances, or once you recognise things clearly for how really what it brings in that element of confusion as to really is it what you love doing or not. That's a really essential question when it comes to anything. So understanding yourself, recognising your own emotions and your own emotional fulfilment, I really do feel that you are on the right track, but you're not in the right position or in the right organisation doing what you're doing. You'll seek for better, more meaningful experiences, shall we say, in the workplace.
Very good. Not much more you can say to that.
I am very matter of fact.
Erika, your go now.
Okay, so Kat wants to know, will she in fact have to move? Will this landlord create a situation where she will have to move? So that's a yes, no, and I asked it as a yes, no, and I pulled 6 cards for it. So I'm doing a spread by someone named Donalea De La Rose, who's another star in our field. And so I have the fish in the house of the rider. I have the coffin in the house of the anchor. And I have the lily in the house of the man. So the short answer to your question is yes, that I do think that this landlord will be selling. They want to make, it's a seller's market right now. So they very well may sell, which means you will have to move, because with the coffin in the house of the anchor, it is the thing that has kept you anchored where you are, where you live. That ends, that's over. However, I think it was the other way around. The lily was in the house of the man. I actually like that because I feel like the terms of it, of the move, will be satisfactory. Fish also mirrors man. So in other words, you could be given money to leave, or you could be given money, a reduced rate in some way that would induce you to leave. There will be, I feel like there's some incentive that will make the leaving, if not more attractive to you, at least easier for you. So yes, I would plan on that, on the move, but I also think that this landlord will sweeten the pot for you to make it easier for you.
We all like a bit of that pot being sweetened.
We do.
Tina, you're up next.
So, Karen, interestingly enough, what I see here is I get that this news, on one hand, sort of came as a little bit of a hardship and a burden for you. It wasn't exactly something that you had the best resonance with from the get-go. In order for them to, on one hand, I see that taking away some of those things for you is actually a good thing, but the way that impacted, it just, that needs to be processed a little differently, because what I see here is that it is ultimately a solution for them to put you into certain responsibilities or some forward motion that actually adds more value to the company. So I think this is going to be ultimately something that is going to be good for you. It's just going to take a little bit of time for you to, I guess, to sort of just feel like this is something that's going to be more positive than impacting or having some sort of a commentary on how you perform those functions yourself, because that's not what it is. Right? It looks like they're completely focused on the bottom line of their business. And I think that if they really didn't see that you would be far better used in other areas of the business, I don't think they would have done this. So I hope that's helpful.
Yay. We all hope it's helpful. I took the question from Sarah, who asks about her plumber and whether the charges, how the situation will work out for her. And I would say that it's a kind of no-win situation. Whichever way you look at it, you're going to take a bit of a loss. Even I did 2 spreads, one for go with what the lawyer says versus, you know, taking your own route in this. And the lawyer route, I would listen to the lawyer based on these and take direction from him. But the situation is not going to end out 100% as you want it to be. So you may still end up paying that extra portion that is the plumbees is due. Okay, so we need some more questions now. I'm terrible at reading these things. So, Erika, if you wouldn't mind taking Steffi, it's Steffi Oswald, who's
Steffi, I know Steffi.
yeah. She says she would love to hear if there are any changes coming up in her work life.
Okay.
I will give Tina and Tina. Hi, Joe. It's lovely to see you. Joe Shipper has a question. He says his daughter lost her job suddenly. Will she get something quickly? You know, will something come up quickly?
Okay.
And Jane, Sue's on. Sue Wilkinson. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Sue.
A dear friend. Oh, maybe it's not your. No, I'm not giving this one to Jane. Actually, I will take that one. I'm not daft enough there. Jane, you have the lovely Gerda. What is my husband's job stability after his 6 months probation period? Okay, I'll go quiet now. Erika, if you want to head up first.
Okay, so this is interesting. Hi, Steffi. So I pulled 5 cards, you know, traditional 5-card spread with the fox in the center, because according to the way I read, fox is the card for work. And I have woman, fish, fox, snake, stork, which is interesting because I don't think the question comes from nowhere. In other words, there's a concern that you have at work. Not a fan of the snake. However, it's followed by the stork. So I thought, well, let me pull 3 cards on the snake and 3 cards on the stork. To whatever degree there is some difficulty at work or someone who's being difficult at work, the snake's cards are the scythe, the letter, and the bouquet, meaning that that snake's head will be cut off. So the problem will not exist anymore, and this will be to your advantage. And then I know that already because of the stork, and so I pulled on the stork and I got man, anchor, and dog, which means to me that in this work situation, you have friends there who will make sure that you are fine. So whatever's causing the difficulty, I feel like it's temporary. It is very short-lived. It's not for much longer, and that you're the one who comes out smelling like a rose in the end. So just hang on, be of good faith. It's all going to work out fine for you at work, I think.
Thank goodness. Isn't it? I listen really carefully when it's Steffi's reads. I'm really pleased for that. Tina, do you want to go up next?
Absolutely. So Joe? Yes. Yes.
Yay!
I've got, I think I would love to be able to validate something with you. I'm not quite sure if her job that she just lost was in some sort of a management position or in the corporate field, or whether or not she has actually utilized a, like a, what do they call them? You know, the businesses that help you find jobs. Like
Headhunter.
Yeah, headhunters. So whether or not she's actually gone through that process. What I feel about this is actually I wouldn't worry so much about the job that she's lost. It just seems like everything starts falling more into place for her, and that something really does come through. They're able to come up with solutions for her. So I do see her going back into sort of job interview scenarios, like relatively quickly. And that I kind of asked why you're asking this question and what it is that you need to know about this process to make it a little bit easier. And
well,
it just
he did comment that he wondered if he needed to sort out like a part-time job for himself.
If he needed to sort something out for her.
Yeah, so there wasn't added, but I didn't add it in because it was a second question.
Regardless, I think the main thing is for you to understand that, and I mean, I pull the anchor too, right? So I think the real thing that you need to understand is this is going to land well, and she will find something else that will stabilize her and that she can call permanent. And so this is just part of the natural course, and really not to sweat the the loss of that old job, because she'll be large and in charge in no time at all.
That's great news. Absolutely great news. You'll have to keep us up to date with that, Joe. We all wish you luck. And you're up now.
So, sorry.
Just water, love.
No, thank you. I'm okay. Gerda, your husband will be job secure at those 6 months. What I will say is there will be a decision at that point, but it's going to be coming from him. Now, it is shown that there is a lot of, should we say, issues occurring in the workplace at the moment. What I will potentially see is there will be some negotiation, or there'll be some kind of communication that's going to happen around his review period, so whether it is probationary period. Now, there could be actually issues within the company with regards to actually finances or budgets. So maybe they've gone over budget for a project or something in particular, but it's kind of niche, and there's a real element of overspend and too fast of one. So they might actually be looking at either asking would they be taking a reduction in hours, for example, but the decision's going to be made by your husband as to whether he's wanting to stay or not. He will be offered the job, but whether or not he's wanting to stay there is a different matter altogether. And I would say the dynamics of what's going down in that place right now is absolute shit show, tittiness, and arguments left, right, and centre. And if that's a job that you're actually then getting asked to be paid less for, it's something he needs to think about.
Great advice. Think about it.
I'm in love with Jane's accent. I love Jane's accent.
Thank you.
Okay, I have the lovely Sue Wilkinson. And Sue, as long as the two of you can find direction and actually aren't going back and forth too many times before you actually get on that path that you are trying to create. I'm trying to be vague in what I'm saying, but if you actually get that communication between the two of you sorted, so everybody knows what everybody is doing and a final idea and direction is formulated, then it will go really well. Lots of moving parts, I would say, in that. Okay. So I will dish out questions again. Jane, we have Karen, and she says, when will I finally be able to see in person the person that I most want to see? And I know you like doing timing questions.
I do.
Jan is on. Erika, if you could take it for Jan. He asks, what should I do about my difficult situation at work? And Tina, I have to read it first. Julia says, I would love to know if I actually have a future reading cards. Yay. So did I give you your
I'm ready to give my answer. I've done my timing, eh?
Go for it.
Karen, are you ready for this? You mark this date down. I'll tell you a rough guideline and I'll narrow it down with my own date for you. So I would suggest that you are going to be meeting this gentleman well before summer actually enters. So I would be saying about June time, early July. But what I would say, 23rd to 27th in particular of June. This year it'll be when you'll be meeting him in person. There'll be something that you'll be doing. I want to know what that is.
Yeah, we want to know. I want to know too. Everybody wants to know. But if you only tell me in the world, that's all right. Erika?
So, Jan, you do definitely seem as though you're at a crossroads in your job situation. I have book, stork, fox, clover, and mice. The book is about things we don't know. So, of course, you would ask, what do I do about this job situation? How do I improve it, is what you're asking. I get the impression that you think that the idea of whether or not you can improve it feels too good to be true. And I think it's important when you're speaking to the universe that you be very clear. Sometimes we give mixed messages. So we'll say to the universe, I would like a shift in this situation. And then we finish our sentence and we say, but that's not going to happen because, it hasn't happened so far. So it's probably not going to. So the universe, when the universe hears that, the universe is like, you know what? Next. They just look right over your head. Next, because you're not clear. So keep what your wishes are in line with the way that you think and that you talk about these things. Now, I say that because I drew more cards. So under the fox, which is the job, I've got woman, crossroads, and woman. So that's really interesting that this crossroads is flanked by the two women cards. I feel like you actually have choices because that's what crossroads is. You have choices. But, those two women are not necessarily women. That can be yin energy, meaning passive energy. In other words, you have choices, but you're stuck between, do I do this? Do I do that? I don't know what to do. But the next card, clover, I drew cards for that. And I got bouquet, clouds, and letter. And, the bouquet, the clover is fast. It's sort of leaping on the opportunity when it comes. To do that will be you doing yourself a favor, the bouquet. So just pick a side. Anything is better than the stasis that you find yourself in now. And you will feel doubtful about that. You'll have doubts. Did I do the right thing? Did I not? If I were you, I would journal about that because we've got that letter there. I would make a list of pros and cons. I think that'll help calm you and settle your spirit. And then mice, which is sort of anxiety and stress, we've got dog, lilies, and whip. I love that. It might be not a bad idea to talk to a friend or a therapist, an advisor or a counselor, or someone who can help you strategize about how to feel peaceful, lilies, about this whole situation. And then the whip is the last card. And the whip here is not bad. The whip is about discipline. In other words, every time you start to send your mind down the path of, oh, that's not going to happen because nothing ever good ever happens. The whip reminds you to move yourself back to the lane that you're meant to be on, which is the lane of expecting and being grateful in advance for the positive things that are coming your way. Just, walk your talk your walk. If you need help doing that, there are people around in your circle who can help you do that because, thoughts become things is what I want to say. Okay. Sorry if that was too long.
No, that's fine. I'm watching Tina's face as you're speaking. Seriously. Because watch her when anybody reads. It's you're just perfect sat there. Perfect the way you sit. And that all the emotion is in your face and you can hear that you're listening to the words and you have a very expressive face. It's beautiful. I wasn't taking the mickey. Okay, I will hand out some more reads. We actually have a lot of questions. I'll hand out the reads before I jump into mine. It'll give you a few minutes to think if you can while I'm talking. Okay. Jane.
I think I still have a question to ask, to answer for, is it Jen?
Yeah, you do, but she's just going to give some questions out first
Okay,
before.
no problem. All right, no problem.
Oh, did you not? Did you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tina.
Just before we move on to the next batch.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. I was paying a little bit of attention for a change. So I guess the question and the wording of that question is, do I have a future as a tarot reader? Was that
As a card, ornament, actually, but yes, as a card reader.
As a card reader. So I want to bring you back to probably one of the most important things that was ever told to me as a reader. I remember asking Walt Amberson something similar in the very beginning, and I asked him, will I ever be able to do this as a career, to do this professionally? And Walt just looked at me and he said, either you will or you won't. It was like so brilliant, right? It took a whole bunch of pressure off me. And so this reading reminds me of this because obviously, our future is in flux. And whether or not this will happen for you really boils down to a bunch of choices and a bunch of habits and choices that you're going to make about your own learning curve and your discipline. So what I see here, the first thing that occurred to me was that at the root of this question is money and whether or not you are going to have the luck or the success to actually be able to survive off of your earnings as a tarot reader. And then it quite specifically showed me that there were a little bit of things about a personal lifestyle or certain things that you would choose or feel comfortable in your own lifestyle that you might have to sort of give up in order to accommodate this journey. And then it mentions something about there are no easy solutions to this profession. It is a long and winding road. It demands a lot of repetition. And it also requires us to spend time also in study groups. And so the message that I had here is that maybe some of your personal, the ability that you have to spend as much time in those study groups and with people has been a little bit on the negligent side, and you would really need to up a little bit of that and go through some foundational studies as well as really put in a little bit more effort and go through the initiations. There are a huge amount of initiations in being a card reader too. So it's saying don't be afraid of those, but for the moment things are perfect and it really will be up to you whether or not you're going to be able to do this.
So here's a question that I'll put out there to you, Tina, and Erika, if you want to answer. How long after picking up a deck did you have the confidence to say, I am a tarot reader or I am a card reader to people? How long did it take you to say, I am a professional reader?
I'm going to answer this first only because I'm sure Erika probably wasn't dealing with some of the same issues that I did. I mean, I always had this, it ran in my family, but the issue was I really had to take it to the trenches. So when I see this whip card and I see the cross card, right, you've got to scrape your knees and you've got to be able to get over that stoppage and know that it's not just about you, and start developing all kinds of relationships with your spirit team. It really is it's a road. So it took me quite a while because I had to feel like I had to go through a lot in order to finally get the confidence to say, okay, I'm here, and I still feel like I'm it's like a lifelong study. I still feel like I'm a perpetual student. So I would say all in all, it probably took me maybe 5, 6 years before I was ready to put up a shield and say, okay, I think I've worked on myself enough, and I have done my due diligence with my foundational studies, and also in the trenches I've started to learn information that was starting to come between the lines.
What about you, Erika? Because I just
Well,
think people would be interested if they're setting up as a reader themselves.
so for me, this world of cards was just, completely new thing. I didn't get into it until I became a widow, which was in 2008. And then I had a reading that blew me away, and I was like, I want to know how to do that. So there were, and then I found Lenormand. There were no resources in English back then. So I read French. So I mean, I had those, and then there was one book, Sylvie Steinbach's book, that was very helpful to me. And then I just went online and read for people for free. And I picked forums that had people from all over the world, right? So they would say things to me, like somebody from India would say, how does he feel about her? Now, my ego wants to say, can you tell me a little more? Is this a father-daughter? Is this husband-wife? Is this, boss, employee, whatever? But I learned quickly, Erika, don't worry about that. They didn't ask you, they asked the cards. So I just would pull cards, and I have to say that I had a full-time job teaching. I would come home from school, and from about 4 o'clock in the afternoon until 1 or 2 in the morning, I would read for people, thousands and thousands of people. What I didn't know, and for free. And I was doing it to help people. That was my sole intention, was to learn this system and to help people. What I didn't know was that there are people, the greats of the industry, who watch your work when you go into these forums. You don't know they're there, but they're there. And then they started to reach out to me and say, just with little words of encouragement, like, you're really doing wonderful work. We love what you're doing. Keep it up, etc. So that was nice. But then I got a phone call. This is after maybe 5 years of doing this work that way. I mean, I read for everybody that I knew, and then, like I say, threw the doors open to the world. And then I got a call from a metaphysical shop that was very famous in my area, and they said, do you want to work here? And I said, well, I have a job. And they said, well, on the weekends. So I said, okay. And I started to work there. I retired and ended up working there for a year full time. And that was very intense because I was doing 10-minute readings and half-hour readings from 10 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. So there were a lot of things, when you talk, Tina, about, the whip and the cross and all of that, it's true. There's so many things that you have to learn. Like, for example, to get out of your own way, number one. Number two, to not take everybody's stuff home with you, to be completely present with your client. And then as soon as the reading's over, if you saw them on the street, you wouldn't recognize them. Those are skills that you cultivate. I had a counseling background, by the way, that was helpful to me, right? And I think that the part of why people flocked to me is the incongruity of the fact that I'm Harvard trained, which is very sort of logical and all of that, and yet I do this work. And people are so weird. They think, well, she went to Harvard, so she must know what she's talking about, even though this world has nothing to do with that kind of training, But I put time in the trenches, and I never thought about, can I make money from this? That never occurred to me. I do make money, and I make very good money. But I suspect in my case, I'm not saying this is true for everyone. In my case, it was because that was never my intention or my goal. I think, they say you can't serve God and mammon, God and money, if you want to say it like that, at the same time. I think people in our industry, that's another little lesson that people have to do to figure out, is how are they going to work out the balance between needing to make a living, for example, and doing ethical work, because you can have people who will come every week to read to you. That's not good. Now they're addicted. But, you know, there are people who say, well, that's their problem. Cross my palm with silver. And, you know, so there are ethics also involved. And so I learned all of that as I went. And I've been in this work now since 2000, maybe I would say 2010. And it's also, I love it. That's the point. I love it. I love it. I love it.
But I think if you think about you, Jane, I was very much the same. That getting over yourself, it has so many different levels to it, because you don't only have to get over yourself for your readings, but you also have to get over yourself and put yourself out there at the same time, right. And have the confidence in order to do so. And I know that you struggled with that at the beginning.
Oh yeah, I mean, I actually touched my first tarot deck, my first any divination deck 3 years ago this month. So 3 years ago this month was when I got my first deck, and I spent every waking second with my deck, learning my deck, getting to know my deck, speaking with my deck, actually becoming best friends with my deck. My deck would tell me the story about everything and everyone throughout COVID. Any story I could think of in my imagination, my deck was there to tell me. I had the core meanings, which I actually really, you know, nailed down. I would sit and watch TV. I'd sit and listen to music. I would have my cards jumping, telling me what those songs were about, telling me the energy. I learned how the cards felt. I learned how the cards spoke. I learned how the runes spoke. I actually noticed the difference between the runic energy and the tarot energy. The tarot can tell you everything. The runes command you to give them that reverence, and they will tell you that answer. So in 3 years ago, I picked up my first deck. Within 3 months, I was actually practicing for free, giving people free readings and everything like that. Within 6 months, I was putting readings online for free, posting them daily for free. And within that 4 days of me doing that online, I actually got seen on an advertising group on Facebook by Toni, who gave me an on-the-spot speaking opportunity based upon the quality of my reading from that. So if you actually have the time to apply yourself, and I mean apply yourself.
That was before I knew her, just putting that out there.
Apply yourself. Yes, it wasn't my looks that got me the gig on Big Bang. It was my actual talent, which I will stand by and say, because I have won awards for that as well.
But what is amazing about all of us as readers, and all those out there that are wanting to be readers as well professionally, is Jane actually has an acquired brain injury. And she doesn't just use the cards like we would use the cards. She uses them for everything. What should she wear today? What navigation does she need through the day? How does she steer certain situations? You know, it's very intense, the reading that she does, to actually function as somebody without an acquired brain injury to the rest of the world. So if you are anybody here, I know we've spoken about it for a while now, but if anybody's watching and they're wanting to be a reader, read. Read all the time. We read when we're watching Judge Judy. You know, we'll read.
Different decks give different types of messages. You can get some really bitchy decks. You get some really gossip decks, and you get ones that are really like, you know, nurture you around, give you a cuddle, it'll be all right. You get some that's like, you know what, like, just go to bed. Go bed.
But I have to finish my last read because I never did mine. And mine is actually for AJ. And AJ asked what are his best next steps to get his head back into the game at work. And it's not your head that's the issue. It's actually if you suffer from anxiety in any way, or you just have nerves, you've built the situation up at work to be more than what it is. You've lost the love of it because of how you've made this bigger, and the mess within yourself over it doesn't make you want to do anything else. But the advice from the cards as to how to steer yourself forward is very much focus on tasks. Now, that doesn't have to be a day's task. Just focus on one thing and do that one thing, and then take the next one. And you'll find by just doing task by task, you'll finally get into, again, your mojo forward. work. But I would say you've shut down pretty much. You're not speaking about it. You've got it all within you. And it's very much about just task for task, and you will actually get there.
I can
AJ.
hear AJ's voice in my head, his actual Aussie accent, telling himself, giving himself a kick up the backside, and he's just keep going on, stop whining about it.
Well, we are at 5-2. I'd like to thank everybody for joining. A truly heartfelt thanks to Erika and Tina. I've missed you lots, and I'm really pleased that we're all here together, and we'll have to do it more, because I've not been doing a lot of these either, and I think sometimes I need a kick in the right direction. Thank you, Tina. So if you want to follow Erika on social media, divine_@withme, and Tina is at Hardtomancy, HARDTOMANCY. Did I get that correct?
I'm actually never on there. I should be.
Oh!
One day we'll get over my technotard phase, and I will actually start. But just for the time being, it's just tinahardt.ca.
Perfect.
Somebody else does that work, not me.
Perfect. These two amazing speakers will also be at the Lenormand Summit on the 24th of June, which we haven't started marketing yet, but that is coming up soon. I'm excited for that too. But thank you both so much for joining us. And again, we have to do this more often. Thanks for everyone.
Bye.